This man is extremely talented. He can learn how others play the piano just by watching him once. He can imitate other people's signatures and engrave handwriting just by looking at them. Even experts can't tell the difference. But what he is best at is learning how to speak. Pay attention to the old man's tone.
In my ear, jazz is just noise. Just an insolent noise.
Let's listen to his imitation again.
Oh, jazz, let's face it, it's just insolent noise.
He called Ripley an imitation genius, but talent cannot be used as a living. No matter how talented he is, he can only be a pauper if he has no opportunities. Fortunately, an opportunity came this day. While working, he met a top rich man. The rich man saw him wearing the uniform of a prestigious school and said, "My son Dick is also from this school. Do you know him?" Of course Ripley didn't know him. He hadn't even finished elementary school, and the school uniform he was wearing was borrowed to show off. But he didn't want to miss the opportunity to meet the rich man, so he quickly answered,
"How is Dickie?"
This is an emotionally intelligent answer. He not only hinted that he knew him, but also asked questions, opening up the rich man's conversation. Ripley took the opportunity to chat with the rich man and leave an impression. Within a few days, the rich man took the initiative to find him. He asked Ripley to go to Italy and bring back his unreliable son, and promised to give him a generous reward. Ripley was confused. He didn't know the rich man's son. He was about to refuse, but he didn't expect the rich man to turn around and leave without giving him a chance to refuse. He had no choice but to go for this reward. When Ripley returned home, he began to investigate Dick. He knew that he liked jazz, so he listened to all kinds of jazz and learned a lot of music knowledge. Now there's only one question left. How can we convince Dick to go home? Ripley came to Italy and found Dick on the beach. Instead of rushing into action, he observed first and made a perfect plan. Ripley first pretended to be a schoolmate to greet Dick, and then deliberately exposed some flaws to make Dick suspicious and draw his attention to himself. Sure enough, Dick invited him to dinner. During the meal, Ripley used his superb imitation talent to imitate Dick's father and make Dick happy.
Believe me, I love to sail. Instead, I make boats.
Stop! It's too much. You're making all the hairs on my neck stand up.
Just when Dick was surprised, the most brilliant move came. He directly stated his intention and said that I was sent by your father to take you home.
What?
Upon hearing this, Dick's expression changed, indicating that he would not go back, and asked Ripley to leave quickly.
Go back to New York.
Unexpectedly, Ripley said yes, and he packed his luggage to say goodbye to Dick, but before leaving, he deliberately and accidentally dropped a few of Dick's favorite jazz records.
Hey. You like jazz? Love jazz.
Dick was very pleasantly surprised. He didn't expect that Ripley also loved jazz and had the same taste as him. He immediately asked Ripley to stay and let him live in the mansion. This was Ripley's plan. He knew very well that he would never be able to persuade Dick to go home with his own persuasion, and it would even make him bored. It was better to take the opportunity to build a good relationship with Dick and become friends. Soon Ripley gained Dick's trust with designed honesty. Dick asked him to be a double agent, defrauding his rich father's money and having fun at the same time. The two drank, sang, drove yachts, and rode motorcycles everywhere every day. Under Dick's leadership, the poor boy Ripley experienced the life of a rich man for the first time. He quickly lost himself and unknowingly began to imitate Dick's tone and movements, wear his clothes, use his things, and even thought of Dick as his brother. But he didn't know that the rich and the poor were different and couldn't get along with each other. Soon Dick's novelty wore off and he began to play with his original rich friends. There was a fat man who looked down on Ripley and mocked him for being like a parasite who relied on Dick for food and shelter. Dick also disliked him more and more, and the two of them had nothing to say. Ripley was very lonely. He thought that as long as he tolerated it, he would still be Dick's good brother, but Dick had already decided to get rid of this follower. That day, the two of them sailed out to sea together. Ripley was still planning their trip, but Dick became more and more impatient and told him to go back to the United States.
I think we've seen enough of each other for a while. You can be a leech, and it's boring.
Hearing these words, Ripley was very sad. It turned out that the brother he thought was just wishful thinking, and the two had a big quarrel.
Who are you? Huh? Some third-class mooch? Who are you?
These slaps shattered Ripley's upper-class dream. At this moment, he clearly realized the identity of the two of them. He became so angry that he could no longer control it. How did this genius poor boy become Dick? It's simple, just kill the real Dick and replace him. Ripley hit Dick on the head with his paddle, which was his first murder. He climbed ashore and shivered, watching the boat carrying the corpse slowly sinking into the sea. He returned to the hotel in a panic to get the keys from the front desk. Unexpectedly, the front desk called Dick's name while looking at Ripley.
Senor Greenleaf, yes?
No,
It turned out that he had been imitating Dick's every move these days, and unknowingly he had a touch of his charm. At this moment, Ripley had a bold idea. He wanted to survive as Dick, but there was one point that would reveal his secret, and that was Dick's fiancée. But he already had a plan. Ripley first used a typewriter to write a breakup letter in Dick's style. Then he imitated Dick's notes and signed Dick's name. The last and most important step is to use a perfume packaging to contain the letter. This was a little secret between Dick and his fiancée, and he noticed it very carefully. Sure enough, the fiancé was heartbroken after receiving the letter and had no doubts. Next he must fake a sign that Dick is still alive. How to do it? Ripley rushed to Rome overnight with Dick's luggage. He put on Dick's clothes, took off his glasses, went to a high-end hotel, and opened a luxury suite with Dick's identity and money. Then, he found a civilian hotel wearing his own clothes and glasses, and opened a room using his own identity. In this way, he used two identities to shuttle between two hotels every day. He called himself and left messages at the front desk, creating the illusion that Dick was alive. It must be said that upper-class people live a chic life. Ripley went to the bank to withdraw as much money as he wanted, without having to think about deposits at all, as long as he forged Dick's signature. Customize luxury dresses, buy as many sets as you want. Unknowingly, Ripley seemed to have really become a nobleman. As Dick, he met a rich and wealthy girl, and he was very fond of him. She invited Ripley to go to the opera that night. Unexpectedly, there was an intermission. When Ripley bumped into someone, he called himself Peter. This person was very friendly, but what was terrible was that following Peter was Dick's fiancée.
Marge, how are you?
He hurriedly took off Dick's ring and put on his glasses, transforming into poor boy Ripley again. It turns out that the fiancée came to Rome to find Dick. She wanted to confront Dick and why she disappeared after leaving only a breakup letter. Ripley is panicked because the rich girl is nearby, and once the two women meet, his dual identity will be exposed. At the critical moment, Ripley came up with a quick wit. He made an appointment with Dick's fiancée to chat in a cafe at 10:30 tomorrow morning. Then he took off his glasses and transformed into Dick and left the theater with the rich girl. Ripley came up with a plan and asked the rich girl to meet at the same cafe at 10:30 tomorrow morning. The two women met unexpectedly the next day, with Ripley secretly observing the situation not far away. The two women are both from rich families. Although they are not familiar with each other, they both know each other's names.
Do you know Dickie? They're with Dickie.
In this way, the fiancé thought that Dick was looking for a new love when he disappeared. The rich girl thought that Dick arranged for them to meet so that she would not get entangled. Ripley's move was so brilliant that both of them believed that Dick was alive, and they both gave up on Dick and would not bother him again. He rented a mansion in the suburbs and lived a pleasant life drinking and playing piano every day, until an uninvited guest came to his door. It was Dick's friend who had mocked Ripley. It turned out that through his connections, he found the apartment where Dick's name was registered, so he naturally found it here. But when he entered the door, he found that only Ripley was here and Dick was not seen. He became suspicious, and when he went downstairs, the fat man met the landlord. He saw the landlord raise his head and call out Dick's name to Ripley. At that moment, the fat man understood everything, and he rushed upstairs. One wrong step and the next wrong. In order to prevent the lie from being exposed, Ripley had no choice but to kill and silence him. He dragged the fat man's body out to throw it away. Unexpectedly, he met a passerby. Ripley had an idea and imitated the fat man's voice to talk to him, making people think that he was taking care of his drunk friend.
Hey, if I'm drunk, think what her husband's saying.
After getting away with it, he drove the car and dumped the body into the wild. The fat man's body was found the next day, and the police detective came to investigate, but Ripley did not panic at all. He had already prepared a set of excuses. Unexpectedly, the police detective also brought news that someone had discovered a sunken ship on the beach. Ripley panicked. According to the detective's description, it was obviously the boat where the body was sunk. Could it be that his murder of Dick was going to be exposed? Fortunately, detectives say nothing else was discovered. But the more Ripley thought about it, the more panicked he became. He couldn't sit still and decided to take the initiative. He wrote a suicide note using Dick's identity, not only admitting that he killed his friend, but also saying that he could not face himself and decided to commit suicide. Ripley was very careful, scratching the photo on Dick's passport to create the appearance of a mental breakdown, and forging an identical signature. Sure enough, the police didn't think much of it and closed the case with Dick killing the fat man and not committing suicide. Ripley managed to fool everyone. He uses his identity to come to Venice to find his new friend Peter. Last time he and Peter hit it off and exchanged contact information. Ripley discovered that they all had the same hobbies with him, and the two quickly got along and became close friends. Just when he thought everything was over, Ripley missed the most important person, Dick's wealthy father. The rich man did not believe that his son was dead because he found out that Dick had withdrawn a huge sum of money before his death. How could a person who decided to commit suicide withdraw money? So he came to Venice and hired the top detectives in the United States to investigate the matter. Ripley panicked. Facing the detective, he was uneasy and pretended to be calm. Unexpectedly, the detective said, "I hope you can keep the secret forever." It turns out that Dick has violent tendencies and almost killed a classmate when he was in school. The rich sent him to Europe to avoid the lawsuit. Unexpectedly, he became addicted to playing and was unwilling to go back. So when the rich man heard that Dick had killed someone, he was not surprised at all. But he believed that Dick did not commit suicide at all, but took a huge sum of money and absconded in fear of crime. In order to save the family's face, the rich man gave Ripley a large sum of money for hush money, hoping that he could keep the secret. Fortunately, Ripley escaped the most dangerous disaster. He made a perfect escape from it all through talent and luck. Soon after, Ripley and his best friend got on the ship and sang on the deck, as if everything was a new beginning, but he forgot that the lies he had told would never disappear. The appearance of a woman on the ship dragged him into the abyss again. It was the rich girl who liked him and thought he was Dick. Ripley was confused. His friend knew the girl, but he used two identities to get acquainted with them. Now he only has two choices: either kill the rich girl and live as Ripley completely, or kill his best friend and live in disguise all his life. But he had no choice, because the rich girl had family around her, so he couldn't attack her, but his best friend was alone. He came to his best friend's room, leaned on his back and cried, asking him to talk about his advantages. His best friend's voice was gentle.
Tommy's talented. Tommy's tender.
He spoke one sentence at a time, not paying attention to the movements in Ripley's hands. Not long after, Ripley returned to the room. He sat blankly, and the door was closed by a gust of wind. He fell into the darkness and could never climb out again, because the only light was extinguished by his own hands.